Hi there, welcome to Space Planning. This is the course intro for Space Planning 170, and this is going to give you an overview of the class. So let's get started. Intro to the class, introductions, and we're going to kind of introduce you to what to expect, how to get started, how class is structured, what you will learn, a little bit about lettering and assignments. Getting started. Well, I'm excited to get started in space planning, and one of the most important things for success will be bringing your supplies and procuring those for the first day of class. So I've allowed you to view this video, give you some extra time to get your supplies so that when we meet during studio time, we'll be ready to rock. So what do you need and what's the most important for today? We are putting together your process book. This is a 15 by 20 format, and you will need a piece of foam core. It could be an 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch, I don't care which one, black or white or whatever color you like. 15 by 20 is basically 1/2 a sheet of foam core. And also, your top of your book needs to be able to fold and open up. So it cannot be rigid like foam boards. So you'll need poster, just a simple poster board, something that is very pliable. Now, I strongly recommend, as you can see here in this top picture, that I have laminated my top piece of a poster board with the class information. So space planning has my name and the name of the class. So this will be put together by 3 clamps, just a typical style of the large paper clips. And when you undo them, because we constantly need to get in and out of this process book. Every time you complete a sheet, you're going to put it in the process book, and when it's all done, your process book will look like this, and of some form of it, but not upside down, right? So these little clampies will go right here, and you'll need 3 of them. And this keeps the process book together, and we will put this together in class. So bring your 15 by 20 foam core and your poster board. And also too, one of the most important things is a big palette of tracing paper. Make sure it is not vellum. I noticed in Hobby Lobby, they had a big tablet and it said tracing paper on the inside, but it was very thick and it was a form of vellum. So I got this at Michael's. You can get it at Art Supply Warehouse. And also handy dandy roll of tracing paper, very important. Obviously, we're using tracing paper a lot. We will be doing, however, lettering on vellum. So we'll talk about that a little later. Next is basically your supplies. Most of you have these supplies from drafting, your architectural scale, of course, and dots, mechanical pencils. This is for our lettering. So I like a nice thicker one. You can do 0.7, 0.9, even 1.0. We'll also need a little emery board, and it's going to show that in a video we're going to watch. Shows you how to set up for our drawing assignments. Also, too, a lettering guide, which you should have, a large triangle. And most of all, we are going to be using just felt pens, different sizes of little felt pens. Not like what we did in drafting where it's all graphite, and I'm going to allow you to use felt pens. Here, we do get to use various sizes of felt pens. And that is learning to loosely sketch. We are going to be able to draw, and you'll be able to really see it well on the tracing paper. And also handy dandy measuring tape, believe it or not. There'll be times we measure items. I'll have you go possibly measure the restroom or the hallways to get an idea of the space or some code compliances, and also a calculator. Now, I use the calculator on my phone, but it's handy to have one. So make sure your phone is always charged up good, or you have a laptop. This course does require a lot of looking up different information on your own. So getting this going will be a key. Now also too is this textbook. We do utilize the textbook. Actually, out of the information, there's a lot of programming and things that you will derive directly out of the textbook. So you need that. Okay. Now, how is the class structured? The first thing you'll do is when you walk into class, you will set up your lettering page and you will practice. You'll be given assignment, maybe it'll be alphabet one a week, maybe architectural abbreviations, but we're really going to fine tune that lettering skills. Next, I'll go into a lecture series where I will discuss based off the book information and our project assignment. I will discuss a lecture, we'll have a lecture discussion. Once that is complete, you will be working in several groups throughout the semester every single week. These groups may be just of 2 or a small group, but you will be working out the assignment in a form of a prototypical drawing. You'll each take one and we will all work in class where every person or every group in class has a little portion of the assignment. Then we're going to throw those little prototypical drawings that we do in class into our discussion board so that I can open them up, we can critique them, look at them, and analyze them. And we can get to see everybody's work. And from that information, you will individually start to work on the actual assignments. And all of those prototypical drawings will be utilized and will help you in those assignments. So it's kind of a structured class, and that's what to expect. So trust me, 5 hours might seem like a long time, but it's going to go by fast. And we got to hit the floor running. As our learning objectives in this class are really horning in on the design process. The first, what I call the first 2 parts of the design process, which is programming, that's gathering data and information, and then turning it into schematic design. We don't get into design development, construction drawings until later on in your educational journey. But here, this is where we want to horn in on these skills. So programming, you're really going to learn how to program, to analyze, to organize information. Formal programming, how to graft and chart this information. We're going to learn about codes and how that's implemented into the programming and requirements of a space as far as accessibility. We'll also learn then take that information and put it into what's called schematic design. That's when we develop scale drawings, determine how efficient the space is, get basic dimensional considerations, code applications, and we really take that programming information and we put it into the schematic development, which look like graphs, charts, bubble diagrams, matrix, and take that and then finally create a graphic solution that meets the programming needs. So it's quite a journey that we go through, but it definitely is a methodical process. So that will be a lot of fun. Now, lettering. That will be one of the very first things that you will do when you we get into the groove and we start the class. So please be on time so we can get that exercise in, get those hands warmed up. You will need that lettering guide, and most of you have one of these if you've taken Design Communication 110, and this will be part of the setup. You will create 3 columns. There'll be various sizes, 3/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and 1/4 of an inch. These are the standard sizes that we do architectural lettering in all our drawings in most cases. Now, Charlene has taken a moment. She has created a really nice video. It's kind of lengthy, but I think we should take a look at it. We could also revisit it later, but we could take a look at this, and it's going to be posted also in our module. But we'll look at this and sit back. It's about 20 minutes or so, but she's going to go through the process of what it looks like and how to set up your lettering. So let's get this, and hopefully we will
This right
get
here
big.
is one of my 18 audiobooks
very
that
loud.
I own. It made 82 sales last month on Audible. It's
skip.
called Do.
So as she is, she's kind of discussing what
So
we'll
right
need.
now, I'm taping down the paper And I'm using a T-square because our tables aren't outfitted with the parallel bars. So I need a T-square, I need a straight edge. Can I borrow yours for a minute, Amy? So this is the perfect triangle to have for class. I also have this little orange one, and I like it because it's tiny, and when I'm lettering, I can just letter with it, and it fits in my little tiny pencil box, so another thing I like about it. For today, you need a lettering guide, and I'll show you how to read them for what we need to do. I have one extra. I'll leave it here. Anybody needs to borrow it. You can also, you don't have to work along with me right now. You can watch and then set it up during lab time and borrow somebody's lettering guide maybe when they're finished. You need, I like to letter with this pencil when it's a 0.9. You could even letter with this guy if you want, and I'll teach you how to do the point edge on that. I have some finer point ones from my old drafting days, so I have a 0.3 and a 0.5, which I think I don't have any lead for. So I'll probably use this one to set up my lines. So what I want to do today is basically create 3 columns of line work that I can do my lettering on. I did find this thing. Has anyone shopped for this yet? It's just this little wood paddle with sandpaper on it, basically. And what it does is if you have a pencil, when you sharpen a pencil, it has a sharp point on it. So if I take and just kind of rough up the edge, then I get more of a chisel point on my lead. And that way, when I hold my pencil, my vertical lines are all really sharp and fine. And then as I draw out from there, it kind of is a little thicker, if you will. So I'll even use it on this and just scribble. Even if you scribble on a piece of paper to get the point, it's fine. Or an emery board, if you can't find this thing, you know, grab from a pack of nail files, just have one and throw it in your pencil box. Yes. Lead holder's perfect. Yeah, so if you have, I just don't happen to have one up here. So if you have a lead holder, that's perfect. It'll make a nice chisel point. You may or may not want to use it for your line work, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And then having extra lead. So I have not the right kind of lead, but I do have my 0.9 lead, so it's fine. You know where another good place to buy mechanical pencils are and lead is Daiso. Have any of you been to Daiso? Yeah, you have to be careful there, though. You go for one thing and you come out with 37 others. So, yeah, it's kind of fun. There's all these things that you didn't even know you needed. And they're all there. Yes, love that place. Okay, so we have our paper. And what I'm going to do, basically, I've got 17 inches, right? So I'm going to leave approximately 1/2 inch margins on the ends and 1/2 inches in between 3 columns. So I can measure that at scale. Approximately is fine. So I'll just make myself a little mark here and one on the end. So now I've got 16-inch paper, so let's see. If I do a 5-inch column, 1/2 inch, 5-inch column, 1/2 inch, and I end up with 5. Yeah, so 1/2 inch is the key. So you're doing 1/2 inch, 5 inches, 1/2 inch, 5 inches, 1/2 inch, 5 inches. And I'll go ahead and draw vertical lines to create those columns. Thank you, Amy. I guess I need your triangle after all. I don't know if you're able to see the pencil lines I'm drawing or not on the projector screen. Okay, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see better, but I actually intentionally want them pretty light because they're meant to be guidelines. If you end up having a heavy hand and drawing them too dark, don't fret, because all we'll have you do is turn your paper upside down, and then your guidelines will be on the back because you have a darker hand.
So we're using with the 16 size of the architectural glue?
I'm only measuring 1.5 inches, so in real inches. So you can use the regular, like the ruler side, right? Because it's not a ruler, right? It's a scale. But it does have the general 1 inch marks on it, so it's a ruler as well. So let me see if I can zoom down here and play with this thing, so it's fun. Zoom. Zoom. Maybe it won't let me zoom when I'm recording. Will it let me move the camera? Alright. I'm trying to record it. I don't know what it's going to turn out like, but we'll see. And then we may or may not. Yeah, if it turns out well, I'll post it, and then it probably will need to be edited, so I don't have all my, commentary you only want to hear once in there. Okay, so this lettering guide. You can see mine here. I've got these little red marks on it. The ones we're going to use most of all are these ones on the diagonal over here. These are exactly 1/8 of an inch apart. So that takes care of two of the things we need. We need 1/8 inch lettering, and we need 1/4 inch lettering. So boom, we've got that done with just using this fixed side over here. To get the 3/16 lettering, there's these tiny little numbers on the bottom. I think it's like a number 10 down here, and then again over here. And I want to, let's see, I want to line those up. I can barely see them anymore. So at the very bottom, and I've got markers on mine so you can see them, but what you can't see is this little embossed number 10. So you have to look really closely to see that. And then there's also one up over here. There's a number 10. And on the older lettering guides, that tick mark used to line up with the one on the side, but depending on your lettering guide, like the one in my hand, does not anymore. So I'm basically looking at the number 10 at the bottom lining up, and then this row right above it. And I've marked it again with the Sharpie so that I know where I'm at. So you can do that too. And that's all we're going to use. So that is our 3/16 holes. So we'll use that one to get our 3/16 apart. So I need to have, a nice clear desk, my T-square set up, and then set this lettering guide down and hold firmly on the T-square, because I essentially am just going to I'm using my finer pencil. Is the right one? I'm just going to go back and forth and create my lines. That's it, right? So you can see I have one hand on the T-square, and the other hand is sort of holding the lettering guide down to the T-square, trying to be relaxed about this so my line stays straight. And you might think to yourself, well, can't I just use a scale and mark 1/8 inch lines down? Won't it be exactly the same? No, it doesn't really work for whatever reason. They just don't have the same consistency. Short of plotting this down in AutoCAD, this is really the way it's done. I will show you guys in a little bit too. I have one of Candace Olson's books. Anybody know who she is? Yeah, beautiful. Her drawings are just so beautiful. But I like to show examples in her book of her work because you can actually see the guides. You can see her guides that she uses when she does her lettering. And her lettering's in ink, but you see like just the hint of the lines that she did to keep her scale going. So I know it's a little hard to see. You can see how the lines are coming together on there. And then I'll just move the T-square down. Let's see. and then continue. So I'll line that top hole up with the last line that I drew, and then start at the second one. Kinda. Not as fun, but I bought my daughter one of those for her birthday last year. She liked it for like a day, but I think I liked it more. Maybe as she gets a little older and her hands are more steady, she'll like it more. So what you want to try to do is set up your lettering sheet so you do line work on the whole column. Just set it up so that when you come to class each week, it's done and all you have to do is letter. So we'll set up the sheet today. And then, do you need the lettering guide after today? You will, because some of you will end up with more than one page, page of lettering, so you'll need to set up another one. And some of you will use it, hopefully many of you will use it on your plans to create your 3/16 inch marks. So I'm going to skip over, this is my 1/8. So I'm just going to write that up there. And this will be my 3/16. And then I'm going to move this camera over again. Probably going to be the worst video ever. 1/4 inch.
By the end of the semester, we'll have this one page of vellum full of stuff.
Yes.
Possibly a second page.
Possibly or part of a second page.
So we should just save the little extra bit that we trimmed off.
You could. Why not? I'll give you another one. People that fill up lettering sheets, I will gladly give you another piece of vellum to do more. So when we do 1/4 inch, we want to go ahead and skip every other hole over here, right? So I'm going to go across, and I have to skip one. I still have to stick my pencil in it, because that just helps me. And I'm going to get the wider lines. When we actually start putting lettering on here, when we start writing words, we're going to write them on one line and always skip a line in between. Otherwise, it's too crowded and too hard to read. Generally, we'd probably skip like 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch between the 1/4 inch lettering, but we can just skip the whole line, it's fine. So again, I moved my T-square down, and then I moved my guide down and relining it up. So this just takes a little bit of, patience, if you will, to kind of get started and set this thing up. Good practice for your hand. I know, again, hard to see. I don't know if that light's going to help us. And then the 3/16, making sure again that my little number 10 is lined up with that bottom tick mark. So I have my Sharpie lines to help me. And then I'll use those center lines. And if I let me sharpen my pencil there. If I overshoot my little guidelines a little bit, it's totally fine. I'm not looking at that. My lettering should be heavier and darker and easier to see. And you guys can all come up and take a closer look, and I can take a photo of what the sheet looks like all set up as well. So then we'll keep going. So 1/8, 3/16, 1/4 inch, getting this paper all set up. And let's come down to, let's see. I thought this was going to be great, but I'm not sure about it. 3/16. So we can start with that. Okay. So when we get to actually doing lettering, I'm going to take my instrument of choice, and let's see if you can kind of see my shape of my lead there. Not really. But instead of just the solid that comes out of the opening, I want to take like one edge off, and sometimes even one swipe will do it. And then the goal is to always use that sharp edge as my vertical when I'm creating letters. So now you're learning how to write again. A lot of you said you've done this before though, right? You've done architectural lettering and drafting. So who has not done it? Okay, so maybe half of you have and half of you haven't. That's okay. You'll do it again. And those of you that have done it may have already developed a nice style. So that part, when I was first starting working, we were still hand drafting. So the goal at the company I was at was you have to write like everybody else. We don't want the people to be able to tell that somebody else drew a detail or worked on a plan. So everybody had to write the same. So that was the introduction to like, you know, being a robot. Okay, I'm just like everybody else. So when I'm lettering, typically I want to use, I'm going to use Amy's triangle again. I like the little triangle just because it's easy to move around. Like I can move it with my thumb and use it to make my straight lines. I could also use the bigger one. I'm trying to see which one would hold on to the edge of the T-square better. So I'll use the little one. And I'm going to do my alphabet, my numbers, and my name at each scale. And I hold a pencil different than most people, so let me see. Try to get my pencil position so that vertical is right there. So the first letter I'm going to draw is an A. I don't have any real vertical things I need the straight edge for, so I can just do my A. All of my intermediate lines kind of go up and to the left a little bit. You can see it's a little thicker because of the way I held the pencil. For the B, I'll use the straight edge. C, I won't. D, I will. And the goal is really to always have your letters looking consistent. So I just sharpened again because it's starting to get dull. You'll start to have favorite letters. I love drawing a J, but I don't like drawing, you know, whatever it is. See with the M, I'll use a straight edge on both ends. Same with the N. My O's are fun, just those two. I need a little sharpen again, just a little freshen up there. And you know, what's really fun about this is, especially if you're just starting out, is seeing where you're at with this first assignment, what your letters look like until the end of the semester. To see if you've gotten better, if you've improved, you know, how it's going, if your style's sort of developing there. Then I'll always skip a line because it would be hard to read if I don't. Y might be my least favorite letter. I have my letters. Bless you. I know the lefties, we'll have to see what's comfortable for you because likely you'll be completely opposite of the way I'm set up and you'll be writing, you'll have to see where it's comfortable to have your triangle, whether it's... what
I mean to avoid smearing.
You're going to smear.
Oh,
You know, you're going to smear. You can use things like that powder, you know, to try to help, but you'll probably have your triangle turned this way and coming across, but really, I'm doing the same thing. Like, look how smeared my A and B are already. So, we just do the best we can. You could put, this is kind of small to do it, but we used to tape, like, coins or something on the back of the triangles back in the old day when we were drafting, just to kind of keep it a little bit elevated off the page so it wouldn't smear as much. So you could try something like that, like taping a little plastic foot or coin or something under there. All right, and then I could put my numbers here since I have room, or I could go to the next line, but I want to practice my 0 through 9. And for more examples to that book that I showed you last week on lettering, and I'm not sure, did we decide it wasn't online? I'll bring it back in here so you can see them. I don't need the straight edge for many of these. Just a couple. And then your name. And you'll get comfortable, you know, with your, where that point has to look like. And then it's just like learning to write when you were in school and working on the spacing between letters in words and between words from each other, and just trying to get a consistent balance of what that looks like. I'll use the regular number 2 pencil. Sometimes people like this as their lettering choice too. It's already an HB lead, and it, you know, you can really get the size and the chisel point on it as best as you, or you know, as to your liking. So I'll just write my name again in this one. I don't like it as well right now, but we'll see. I'm glad I have a short last name, but when I was in college it was much longer. It's fairly consistent. I was a little more comfortable with the mechanical pencil versus the regular pencil, but you choose your writing utensil of choice, and the way you hold your pencil. Mine's a little strange. I figured out of late that everything I learned early on, writing, drawing, I learned from a left-handed person, so I tend to do things a little differently, although I'm not left-handed by any means, but even the way I start to do things is usually opposite. Even when I snowboard, I'm backwards. Like, everything's different. But so we're going to do that at each scale. So obviously your 1/4 inch scale letters will be a lot bigger. Your 1/8 inch will be tiny, you know, and you're using those. 1/8 inch you're using on plans to note things, right? So if I was drawing a floor plan, all my room labels would be this size, a 3/16, nice and comfortable. If I was drawing a note to say a finish on something, or call out maybe what one of those rectangle boxes on my plan actually is, I would use 1/8 inch for any of the notes. And then where I'd use 1/4 inch is for my sheet titles, drawing titles, anything that's a little more like a title block. I'm not going to be writing notes at 1/4 inch, but any kind of titles. Any questions? That was fun. Donna?
Okay, so we're going to get out of that. So, like I said, we will have one sheet, and you will work on that same sheet throughout the semester. And I will give you a piece of vellum in class. And once we get all those lines set up, like I said, each class period, you'll just do a little each class period. If you go through a whole sheet, good for you. And I'll happily, like Charlene said, give you another sheet. So that is one thing we'll probably be doing on the first day, is setting up these lines so that we will be ready to go with our lettering each day. And this is a little information. There's more details in your module, and this video is also there. And so let's see. Now, you have what we call a virtual book inside your module called Human Dimensions. This Human Dimensions book is really going to be important in this class. You will be referring to it, and you are going to be looking into it. Now, we have it in a digital copy version, and when I see you in person, I'll kind of go over that a little bit. But here's a teeny little video on how to use this. Now, she has actual Xerox copies, but when we go to the visual virtual book, you'll see that this is a huge book. It covers every topic that you can imagine. And we'll dive into a little bit more about anthropometics. and we're going to do a little bit of a quick kind of study in class today actually. So I look forward to doing that, and it'll hit it home for you. But here's a little bit of a video that we want to kind of check that out and see if we can
Hi,
watch
I
that.
wanted to give you a quick example of
See if I
how
can get
to
this bigger.
use the Human Dimension book.
Oh, good. Can I get it bigger? Maybe I'll do this one. Do it a little bit bigger. That will help out.
Hi, I wanted to give you a quick example of how to use the Human Dimension book. And I am looking at the assignment here and specifically the clearances. This is what you'll find works best for the use of this book. When you're asked for a clearance and thinking, where am I going to find that information? The Human Dimension book is really well organized. So let's take this first one, for example, the space from sofa or chair to access edge of a coffee table. So I've pulled up just this one page from the Human Dimension book, and I can see that I'm not looking at plan views. I'm actually looking at some elevation views and really sort of understanding the nuances here. So this center one actually most closely resembles what I'm looking for, the lounge seating. So that could be a sofa or lounge chair, and then here to the edge of the coffee table. So if I go up, I can actually see I've got some references here. So if I look here on the left side, this is telling me if I want clearance for a human to have space to actually walk by while someone's setting, that human needs that 24 inches. Plus I have to clear the knees of this person here. So I'm going to look for this reference letter G. If I'm just looking for the clearance to be seated and actually reach for an item that's on that coffee table and not have somebody walking by, which, I think typically in a residential setting, you're going to have things a little closer and more intimate. Maybe if you were planning for maybe in a larger space or both sides, you might consider both. So I need to go down to the bottom corner of the page here and look at those ranges. So they do have inches and centimeters. Sometimes we have students that are converting, so maybe this will help get used to our imperial measuring system. So if I look at G, I can see I've got a range of 30 to 36. So that's the minimum I would need to have the space for the person to walk by. And for C, actually it was D. For D, I have 16 to 18 inches. So going back up to a chart for just that reach range, so the answer to my question here is 16 to 18 inches. So how that's going to translate then into a drawing, and let's see if I can kind of side by side this for you. So I've got, and you could have done this either way. You actually don't really need to draw this whole drawing for the assignment. You just need the sofa and the coffee table, and then that dimension from D, which is 16 to 18 inches. But I went ahead and showed both sides and showed a little different arrangement here with the 30 to 36. I did underline the 36 and the 18 because that was the actual dimension that it's drawn to. Even though there's a range, you want to go ahead and make it accurate to one or the other. So I hope that helps with looking into the Human Dimension book and then translating that information into a two-dimensional drawing. Let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Awesome. So with that being said, this Human Dimension book, and we'll dive deeper into that when I do see you in person, but you will be referring to this throughout the semester. So there's a lot of research involved in this class as you dive in, and you have to really use your critical thinking, look up those dimensions and find them. And it is a very useful tool.
And I am
Oops. So the class group model. What are we, basic group model of this class is research. Just like you just saw in that book, you would be given a topic or information, maybe what is a clearance for a standard aisleway in between a booth and a table, or what is the clearance that you need, in various situations, and you would refer to that book and other outside sources to get that information. Research is really important, standard sizing, research for codes. So this is how we get our programming, and this is how we get our final results, is the research. Learning where to go and how to utilize different resources. Then you take that and you sketch it, just like you were looking up in that human dimension book where it is and reading charts. Then you sketch it based on the information, sketching prototypical designs, rooms based on the criteria and square footage. And you submit that information onto that discussion board we discussed. And then you come back and then you draw to scale using your drawings and other classmates and typical rooms, and you complete your assignment. So that's kind of how it rolls: the research, the sketching, and then the drawing to scale. Now we have various assignments throughout the semester, and there are basically 5. And the first one, we're going to start right today, where we start doing symbols, and we're going to start just learning how to use our tools, do a little anthropometric assignment, and actually dive right in to A1, because it is actually due in 1 week's time next week. And we start hitting the road with A2, where it's a more extensive project. So we will do some symbols, some standard dimensions, some prototypical designs in rooms in our first assignment. After we've gleaned and gotten that information, we go into designing our first residential space. And we will be using design programming, the design process, diagrams, matrix, and so forth to come up and implement a solution. Then we're going to skip into some of our residential or our commercial. So A3 is an accounting office, and it has its own criteria that we will utilize. Finally, it starts to get larger scope, and for A4, where we're doing a university center, and it's far more complex, and it's going to require a lot more communication, codes, and that sort of thing, accessibility, egress, and implementing the program requirements. And then finally, we get to end in a bang with a hospitality restaurant club. And that's a different type of space planning, and it's a different type of criteria. So it should be a very fun semester, but I'll tell you, it is go, go, go. So we don't have much time to waste for sure. Now, in A1, we do a space planning of diagrams and symbols. And so when I see you in person, we will complete this PowerPoint, and I will kind of dive into the assignment as we start sketching at that time. So I am very excited to get this rolling and see you at class at 12 o'clock. So I wish you all the best, and hopefully you'll get to go through all the module up to this point, and then bring all your supplies to class. And then we will start on our lettering. We are going to do some fun little warm-up assignments and get right into A1. So see you guys then. Thanks for sticking with me.